If you've been scrolling through endless lists of dreadnoughts, watching video after video of people comparing Spruce to Mahogany, and still can't tell whether the cutaway version is worth the extra cost, you're not alone. That hesitation wondering if you'll end up with a guitar that sounds great at home but turns into a headache on stage is exactly what this review is meant to clear up. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The Yamaha A5R Dreadnought Cutaway lands in a crowded segment, acoustic-electric guitars that promise both rich, unplugged tone and reliable plug-in performance. At first glance it looks like any other Yamaha, clean lines, that classic vintage natural finish, and a cutaway that hints at easier high-fret access. But the real question is how those choices translate into everyday playing, whether you're strumming in your bedroom, rehearsing in a coffee shop, or taking the stage at a local gig. Let's start with the wood. The top is solid Sitka spruce, a grain that's been a workhorse for acoustic guitars for decades. In a practical sense, that means the A5R wakes up quickly. You don't need weeks of break-in, the first few chords already have a clear, articulate bite, especially on the mids and highs. The back and sides are solid rosewood, which adds a warm, slightly darker resonance that you typically only get on higher-priced models. When you're playing fingerstyle or light flat picking, that combination gives you a sweet balance. The spruce projects the attack, while the rosewood rounds out the low end without getting muddy. The neck is mahogany, a material known for a smooth feel under the hand. In my own testing, the A5R's neck profile stayed comfortable even after an hour of bar chords, which is a subtle but important benefit for anyone who likes to move around the fretboard without adjusting grip. The Ebony fingerboard adds a bright, snappy response that complements the spruce top. You'll notice it most when you play faster passages. The notes articulate cleanly instead of blending together. Now, the cutaway. It looks like a simple aesthetic tweak, but it actually solves a practical problem for many players. If you've ever tried to reach the 15th fret on a full-size dreadnought and felt cramped, you'll appreciate the extra clearance the cutaway provides. I tried a few songs that require high register soloing, and the A5R let me hit those notes without having to shift my hand awkwardly. That said, the cutaway does shave off a small amount of body volume on the lower side, which can slightly reduce the bass response you'd get from a solid-body dreadnought. In a quiet practice room you might not notice, but in a full band setting the low end can feel a touch less robust than on a non-cutaway model. Because this is an acoustic-electric, the built-in pickup and preamp are crucial. Yamaha's R series uses a piezo system that's been fine-tuned over several generations. When I plugged the A5R into a PA system, the tone stayed true to the unplugged sound, no harsh, quacking feedback that you sometimes hear with cheaper pickups. The onboard EQ controls are simple: volume, bass, and treble. That simplicity works in the real world. You can dial in a balanced sound in under a minute, which is a blessing when you're setting up for a quick gig. The only downside is that there's no built-in tuner or a more elaborate preamp with mid-control. So if you need more tonal shaping you'll have to rely on an external pedal or your amp's EQ. So who should actually buy this guitar? If you're an intermediate or advanced player who already has a solid acoustic and needs a reliable stage-ready instrument, the A5R hits the sweet spot. Singer-songwriters who perform live will love the plug-in convenience combined with a tone that still feels natural when you go acoustic. The cutaway makes it easier to weave in lead lines or melodic fills, something that can elevate a simple chord strumming set into a more dynamic performance. Also, if you appreciate the aesthetic of a vintage natural finish and the feel of solid wood without paying the premium of a boutique maker, Yamaha's reputation for consistency adds peace of mind. On the flip side, if you're just starting out and your budget is tight, the A5R may feel like an overinvestment. There are lower-priced Yamaha models that offer a solid spruce top without the electronics, which could be a smarter first purchase. Likewise, if you're a pure acoustic purist, someone who never plugs in and prefers the raw resonance of a fully laminated back and sides, you might find the electronics unnecessary and the cutaway's slight loss of low-frequency depth a trade-off you don't need. Finally, if you travel a lot and need a lightweight instrument, The solid rosewood back and the overall dreadnought size make this guitar heavier than many travel-oriented options. Let's talk value beyond the headline specs. Yamaha's build quality is a known constant. The A5R doesn't feel like a budget instrument assembled in a rush. The solid top and back, coupled with a neck that stays straight even after years of